CC triple orbital production, and Masa is not remotely scared of building turrets, which is something that Major has been avoiding up to this point. I assume because you'd like those minerals to replace the Marines that were killed off by those Banshees earlier. But Masa's going to push out, and as you said, he's got a pretty massive tank advantage. He does not want to wander there. That is not a good place to be. But he says, you know what, I'm going to take those shots, and I'm going to return fire. I'm going to lose a tank, and I'm going to take out yours.
Yeah, trading one tank for two there, and securing himself a pretty good position if he wants to. Definitely well worthwhile for him. And this is actually looking like just a complete mirror of the previous game. Although with that Banshee up, he may be able to make something happen here.
Oops, secret missile.
On the tanks, that's cute.
That's going to hurt a lot. Oh, nice.
Wow.
That almost took out the entire tank line there. I'm quite surprised Masa decided not to move away from that. But he didn't really have much of a choice, and Masa now elevating in here. Major in a decent defensive position, and it looks like he's going to hold that one.
Yeah, he took out all of those tanks. A pretty equal trade unit-wise, I think. Lost an extra tank or two. But really the bigger thing is just that Major could have ended up in a very terrible position there. That army could have just contained him and denied his third absolutely forever.
Yeah.
And could have just served as a basis for Masa to rally to and continue to get bigger and bigger. But as is, Major can now go ahead and take his third base. He's still definitely behind. About 20 supply behind overall, about 9 workers behind, and with a slower third base, so certainly noticeably behind. But he has room to actually make something happen here. He can kind of try to play his way back in, instead of just batting his head against a big unbreakable containment force. So, I don't know. At least there's some light at the end of the tunnel for Major. If Mesa had executed that properly, I think he could have just won on the back of it.
Yeah. I like the fact that Major's actually really made this Banshee count as well. He's forced a lot of scans out of Masa, but hasn't actually lost the Banshee in the process. So every time that's happening, he's able to really get a little bit of an edge back and just kind of claw his way back in there. So things are not looking terrible for Major. But as you said, you know, the supplies do tell a pretty ugly story there. Masa is going to attempt to deny this third base, and he's certainly got the units to make this a little bit of a pain here for Major, but I don't think he's got the units to fully stop it.
Masa really kind of spread.
Oh, wow. Apparently so. Major just GG's immediately there.
Yeah, what happened there is Major was actually transitioning into mech, and Masa was really spreading the mech. He had a Raven in the main dropping missile turrets as well. He had more Marines poking into the natural, and he was going to deny the third base. And normally that's really frustrating, but against mech, there's just, you can't split up your army that much if you don't actually prevent things from happening in the first place. There's no way to really respond to it, because you really need to keep your army as a cohesive unit. If you get split up, then the bio is just more efficient in small groups, and Major, he's a good enough player to know that. He knew that things were just going to snowball. Masa had an unlosable advantage, and just kind of tapping out. I'm sure there's a bit of frustration in that too, because he really doesn't like the setup he's playing on.
Yeah, that is true. He is currently at a LAN tournament. He elected to play both, and unfortunately, it looks like he maybe, I wouldn't say tilted, but he's not been having the best time with the setup over there. Now, since we are going to be going to the next map very shortly, I'm going to take some time to bring up the replay and actually show you kind of how that went down towards the end, because there was a lot of action going on. We could only really focus on one at a time, and the supply count of Major plummeted in just such a massive way that I'd love to actually show you how that happened. And we will be able to do so very, very shortly. It wasn't a particularly long game, so I'm just accelerating back to where we went previously. Would you call Masa actually beating out Major in this particular series an upset?
I would definitely think so. But like I said at the beginning of the cast, I'm a little bit biased. I'm friends with Major. I've had a lot of respect for him since back in Brood War. I do genuinely think he is the better player, though. Masa, he's certainly good, but he's not amazing at all. He strikes me as just a very good ladder player, whereas Major is someone who should be legitimately competitive in major tournaments. If he actually got the opportunity to go to them more frequently, I think people would respect him a lot more. And he is playing on an uncomfortable setup, but you can't really deny Masa did massive work with those Banshees there and really just played it out nicely. That one attack was very questionable, where he took the huge Hunter-Seeker missile on his tanks,
yeah,
and everything just kind of went bad from there. But at that point, he had already almost won the game, and then he didn't let that deter him at all. He just kept up the pressure, found ways to make things happen, and just kind of picked Major apart, really. So certainly a respectable performance from him in that game in particular.
Yeah, and this is what you see coming in from the side here. Masa actually goes right in, catches a couple of tanks as they're moving out, spreads his opponent apart. This kind of area right here that was being defended Major was going to clear that out, but he lost such a large amount in the process. And Masa's production behind that was actually silly. He was working on 2-2. He had medevacs and 9 Marines at a time coming out in the background as well. Good amount of production spreading forward, and Major wasn't really able to do that. That Marine force from Masa over here was able to break the defense. There was really nothing left at the natural there for Major. Those Marines would have just marched in, just gutted the natural entirely, and these auto turrets that we see right here will actually... If we can we actually do that? I was going to say we could go back here, but this setup is a little unusual. Oh, there's the replay timeline. Okay, we'll go back and we'll just see how much damage those auto turrets really did. Because as you accurately pointed out, being spread out so much with, you know, a decent tank force, but not able to handle what was a 3-pronged attack there is kind of a big deal. There we go. There's one auto turret going down. Second one will be dropped. There's the third. No response to that at all. Major knows he can't do anything. The mineral line basically melting under all of that. The third base defended, but that was a nice bit of TBT from Masa, I've got to say. I'm actually really impressed by how he played that one out. I think he's playing to his strengths as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that playing multitasking and very fast-paced and just multitasking oriented would have played to Masa's strengths, would have been in his favor in this match, but it's kind of looking like it is. Although, to be fair, the first game was kind of the exact same thing except flipped around, so they're both shown that they're capable of just taking over a game and just absolutely snowballing it in their favor. So I don't know, they both seem like they're more comfortable on the aggressive end of things. It both seems like whoever is the one taking control of the game, who's making things happen early on, is dictating the pace of things, is the one who's ending up more successful. Even when the defender is doing well and holding on, it always seems like the aggressor finds some way to make things work and to take control of the game. So I would say both of them should go for some kind of aggression early on here.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. So we will see where this one goes. Just waiting for Major to get things sorted out, and we'll be going to the next game very shortly. After that, I believe we'll actually be playing Scarlet versus Hitman. Major... Oh, actually, Major just forfeited due to lag, by the looks of it. So, that's a thing.
That does sound like Major. Like I said, not the best mindset competitively. He does things like this a lot in the past. He's kind of famous for being hard to work with, both for like tournaments and teams and stuff. So that's really unfortunate. He's a fantastic player. He certainly could have made it to the finals of this, but that's one of the risks you did. He's winning like $10,000 for beating a bunch of random unknown players, so it's not a terrible decision for him.
I guess so. Well, that's unfortunate. I was looking forward to more TBT, but that is Major out of the tournament with a forfeit there. So we will see Masa go on to fight Kane. Was that a fight that actually happened last time around? I seem to recall that they ran up against each other before. I'm going to have a quick look at the previous bracket for the first SHOUTcraft America tournament. But I think that did actually happen. Let's see if
I'm not actually sure. I remember Kane just playing like infinite ZVPs on his way to winning.
Yes,
I'm not sure if he played Kane earlier.
He actually played Masa. He 2-0'd Masa, in fact. And then Suppy 2-0'd Masa to knock him out of the tournament 0-4. So, yeah, I remember Kane versus Masa, actually. It was a really wild fight. There was a game on Akalon Waste that was just constant back and forth for about half an hour. It was really, really good.
And Masa has a style that makes for very exciting TVZs. Well, it's not really his style. He just kind of plays the Marine train kind of thing, but that makes for very fast-paced games. And he has good enough execution that if he plays against anyone else who is also good, you get lots of back and forth and constant battles and excitement.
Yeah. Now we may be having a bit of a short broadcast because we will perhaps be not playing the final best of 5 tonight, since we are in a situation where both sets of players are kind of requesting that they play their series tomorrow because of how late it's getting. But we will find out what the answer to that's going to be very shortly. We're just looking to find out whether Scarlet is available. She did state about half an hour ago that she was available and ready to play. We need to check that she actually has access to a computer and that everything is going okay over there. So while we do that, we're going to take a short break, folks. As I said before, Major has forfeited, so Masa gets the default win and will be going on tomorrow to play against the SHOUTcraft champion, Kane. And when we come back, we will, well, hopefully be bringing you a best of 5. Otherwise, this will be a very short tournament. You are watching SHOUTcraft America Winter, and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. and gentlemen, welcome back to SHOUTcraft America. So, here is what is happening. We are going to be having what a lot of people have been calling the feature match of the night, a team kill between Huck and DeMuslim. That's what's going to be happening. Scarlet, we have pushed till tomorrow so that she can rest, because it's like 1 a.m. over there already. So she will have the opportunity to travel to the Acer house tomorrow before the tournament begins and play from there, which is a much more comfortable environment. We think it makes the most sense for you, the viewers, because you'll get the best quality games. And I think the last thing anyone really wants to see is a tired Scarlet coming off a finals loss, playing in a best of 5. That doesn't seem like a good idea. So we're going to round things off tonight. Fairly short night, which should hopefully allow the Europeans to actually stay up and watch the rest of this tournament with Huck versus DeMuslim. Greg, this has got to be something that you're looking forward to casting, surely.
Oh, certainly. These guys seem to play each other quite a bit. It feels like they're always running into each other in WCS or an MLG or whatever tournament it is they're playing. A bit of an EG curse. They always have to team kill each other. I know in practice for sure, it almost always goes DeMuslim's way, and DeMuslim is very, very confident against him. But Huck is a great tournament player, and he's capable of very aggressive strategies that can often catch. I don't know. DeMuslim is a little bit greedy, and he's actually a lot greedy, and he doesn't always perform the best under pressure. And Huck is such an aggressive player, and he's willing to do just kind of any kind of build and really make things uncomfortable for his opponent. And that really works out well against DeMuslim in tournament series. I think DeMuslim is comfortable enough in just the fact that he is the better player for that to kind of carry through most of the time, but Huck could certainly surprise him. I would see DeMuslim winning if this goes to any kind of long game, but Huck could easily throw him off his game and just kind of snowball from there, because DeMuslim does have problems with performing under pressure for sure.
That is true. We have seen some unfortunate things from him. I mean, he had a lot of hype coming into, I wouldn't even say coming into this tournament. Like, for the last 2 years, really, there's been hype riding behind DeMuslim as one of the best foreign Terrans, but he's never really been able to show that within a tournament setting.
No, there's a lot of things going into it. A lot of it's just his mindset, but to some extent it's his game play as well. He does play very predictably and very greedy. Always 14cc or 1 rack CC, and then we get to see a game.
We're
on
doing
Fruitland. I'm so excited.
He did it. DeMuslim did not veto it, and Huck got the first map pick and went straight onto Fruitland. So, I respect him for that.
I'm pretty sure Huck is just kind of trolling with this. I don't see it actually favoring Protoss in PvT. I think he just kind of wants to play the map. So I'm excited about that. But back to what I was saying. DeMuslim, he's a pretty one-dimensional player. He will throw in like a generic cheese once in a while, like he will proxy 2 racks in TVZ, but he's not going to do anything off the wall. He's not going to be doing anything too weird. And when he is in a proxy 2 racks mode, he kind of does it too much. He really gets into a groove of what he thinks is going to work and what he feels comfortable with, and he's very, very predictable. Even to the extent of doing it in tournaments. Like, often predictable players realize they're predictable and they'll switch it up in tournaments. He really doesn't. He kind of just keeps doing what he's comfortable with. And then just competitive mindset, like if he gets tilty, if he loses a couple of games, he can easily go off and just start playing worse and worse and get really down on himself and upset. So, yeah, he has problems performing. It's really unfortunate because he's such a good player in practice, and when he can play the kind of game that he's comfortable with, he's probably one of the best non-Korean Terrans. But it's really hard for him to get himself into those situations when it matters.
Well,
and then Huck, on the other hand, God knows how he wins, but when it matters, he tends to do it.
He's actually going to be playing with his Scarecrow account because that is the account that qualified for this tournament. His actual EG Huck account didn't, because it was the lower seeding of the 2 that ended up in the top 7. I don't know what exactly he's been doing to get both of those accounts into the top 7, but he's evidently been laddering pretty hard lately. Before we start, though, I would, of course, like to remind you this tournament is sponsored by Ting.com, and we have a special offer going on for you. Shoutcraft.ting.com will get it for you. They are a cell phone provider in the US. They are a carrier off the back of the Sprint network, and they can give you a very flexible plan. If you're like me, and you use the internet a lot, and don't necessarily call a lot of people, maybe because you have absolutely no friends, then Ting is a really good option for you. and it's something that you might want to consider. But it's also pretty good for heavy users as well, for one particular kind of thing. Maybe you don't need 300 text messages a month. I can't stand typing on that damn screen, so maybe that's something that might be useful for you. So do check it out. You can get $25 off your plan by going to shoutcraft.ting.com. And I'd also like to remind people that the shoutcraft.com website is up with all of the tip jars. Huck was thanking, I believe, was it Maureen, for his first donation? He got a tip from that. You can actually tip your favorite player. And I think that Huck deserves money for picking Fruitland, actually. I think maybe it's pity money, honestly, because as you said, this is not exactly a map he may be able to win on, but I think it's bravery money. Let's call it that.
I would like to donate a bit to him just because I really wanted to see a game played on here. I think it'll be fun. I don't know how much it'll actually matter because 500 minerals is not the biggest deal unless it's pretty early on in the game.
Yeah.
And if you actually commit to getting that early on in the game, I don't know, 2,000 some HP and 3 armor is not going to go down that fast. It feels like it's kind of, I don't know, it might be a little bit questionable to go for that.
It's a bit of a trap, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a red herring.
I was trying to think of a PC way to say that, but
yeah.
But yeah, a trap would actually be the pretty simple way too. But it was in the GSTL, so yeah. I don't know. Maybe it works out because if it's gotten played on that stage for quite a few games, it can't be too bad. One would imagine. I'm curious to see if Huck actually has anything prepared for it, or if he just wanted to play it for troll value. Because I could completely see him just wanting to play it because he knows no one else is and he thinks it's funny.
I'm just reminding them that BM is entirely fine in this tournament. Unfortunately, we're not able to do the face-offs with the webcams because of problems with Major and Scarlet not having access to them. We might be able to do them tomorrow. I will see. I can't guarantee it, though. DeMuslim is claiming he's not a BMer. I don't know. Do you agree with that statement?
No. Not at all. If you had access to like his private ladder accounts and the chat logs from those.
I would like to point out that Huck picked Abatha as his representative for this particular game, so we'll see how that one goes. DeMuslim picking the Marine seems reasonable, certainly.
Wait, who's Abatha? What?
You played the campaign, right?
No.
Oh God. Oh, right. Well, next time you speak to the one and only Stephen Bennell, you may wish to ask him who Abatha is. But
I get a Destiny rant. I like Destiny rants.
Yes, Abatha is. Let's just say he's the most interesting character in the campaign. But there you go. All right, here we go. Fruitland. It's the most colorful map with the strong colors mod on, which you're gonna drown in a vomitorium of color in this. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. So we are heading on into this one. It will, of course, be a best of 5 series between these two, and it is going to be entertaining one way or the other. So spawning to the southwest position, the man who most assuredly has no fear, the only scarecrow in existence that doesn't, and the Red Trunks are playing Protoss to the southwest of Fruitland. It is E.G. Huck versus his opponent to the northeast position in the Blue Trunks playing Terran, the ever stoic, the immigrant, in fact. He came on over to the US and he was able to legally qualify for SHOUTcraft America. He's stealing your gerbs. He is E.G. DeMuslim.
I haven't actually seen either of these players play this matchup for quite some time, but I'd imagine DeMuslim's kind of been just a one-rack CC player since the beginning of time. I'd be really surprised if he's doing anything too aggressive early on. And TVP, like, oh, he is actually rallying to his gas, so he's going to start out with something besides one-rack CC. But really, any kind of early pressure right now, TVP, is so hard to pull off just because the strength of the Mothership Core. This is kind of what you ask any Terran about balance right now. They just complain about the Mothership Core and then Templar if it gets to the late game. So, I don't know. Yeah. I'm honestly kind of surprised. I figured he would just go with his normal fast expansion, try and play for a macro game. Because he has to be confident out macroing Huck. That's his forte, and not at all Huck's.
Yes, unless it is some kind of special lemon build. Who knows?
Perhaps. Nope. Actually, that's kind of an interesting tactic, because I don't really think it's going to play into Huck's hands too much, but maybe it'll, like, freak DeMuslim out, and he tries to overcompensate and do something to gain control of the lemons, and then it's not going to pay off.